Jeff is back again. Welcome to It's Not Your Fault. I do appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. Yankee Jeff here with some more t-shirt therapy. Going to be talking a little bit more about fentanyl tonight, the new kid in town that's destroying our country. So I do want to thank the people that subscribed yesterday after my impassioned plea. I got two more subscribers, so I'm 943 away from my goal of 1,000. I mean, this time, 10 years from now, I'll be good to go. Just kidding. Appreciate all of you. So tonight we're going to talk to a young lady named Sonia, and she's going to give her story about her dance with fentanyl and how it's changed her life. So, without further ado, like, subscribe, share. I'm me, you're you. Let's make it happen.
Okay,
Hi.
where'd you grow up? Where are you from originally?
I'm from Sacramento.
And tell me about your family. Do you have both your parents when you were young? You are still young, but what? How are you raised?
I was raised mostly with my mother. My both my parents were really young, 19 and 20 when they had me, and I'm 25 now. But throughout the years, my mom has been pretty consistently my main parent. Um, I did get to go visit my father, um, who lived in a different part of Sacramento than I did. So it just was really two different worlds. And a lot of the time, it was not very safe environment for children. Although there was a lot of them running around, and
What was going on?
most of the time, it was not very supervised. Other than the older cousins and my grandmother and my grandfather on my paternal side. So just a lot of nonsense went on, and some early alcohol and drug use, as well as um, other stuff, and
The other stuff being like, I'm guessing sexual abuse or stuff like that.
there's a little bit of that going on over there, which is why I wasn't really allowed over there after about like 9 or 10 years old. So then that kind of made the visits with my father a little hard, and
Did something happen with you at some point?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that made things kind of hard to see my father, because he had lots of different relationships and women, and he kind of was a player.
Yeah.
So I got to see a lot of that. So that kind of made it so I was always really glad to go home to my mom. My
Mm.
mom was my superhero and my best friend, and she was everything. When I was a kid, she was all I wanted to be around. I was really shy. When I go to school, I would be kind of quiet, kind of awkward at first, and then after a while, once I got comfortable, I wouldn't be able to focus. I wouldn't be behaving and all that stuff. I'd be too worried about talking in class that I wouldn't be doing my schoolwork. So that's towards the end of the year, my grades would be horrible, um, always without fail. So eventually, I think it was third grade, I got tested for ADHD, and I was tested positive, and so they said that I needed to take medicine. My mom didn't want to put me on it at first because she didn't want me to become an addict to these pills. So I just decided, decided to give me like coffee and other alternatives until the decision was made to just put me on Ritalin, um, that was considered less addictive. And so I took it for a while. I didn't like it. We tried all kind of different medicines, and it seemed like the older I got, the worse my behavior was getting, and the more depressed and anxious I was feeling. I always had this feeling inside of just like something isn't right about me. Like there's something wrong with me, and I would lay up at night just thinking about it. My brain would just race. It still does. But
I want to stop that right there. What she's talking about is she was put on a, a behavioral medication when she was younger in school called Ritalin. And we've all heard about this medicine. It's a drug, and it's a drug that's passed out like Tic Tacs. You're giving children prescribed, and again, that prescribed just because that's not written on a piece of paper does that really make it right? The drug companies in this country look at the American public not as patients but as customers. I'm not going to go off on a rant about that. But that being said, when you give children a mood altering medication such as Ritalin or later Adderall, this affects their chemical makeup and their physical makeup of their body because a woman doesn't actually fully mature mentally, physically until she's 25. A man is 27. So giving a 13, 14-year-old child this medication, it stunts their growth. Hope that makes sense. But there's an actual term. It's called arrested development. And it's not just a Larry David comedy sitcom. It's actually a term meaning that the drug that they're taking can arrest their development at that age. So you may be talking to a 25-year-old woman, but if she started using when she was 15, you're talking to a 15-year-old. Okay, so this is what she's describing is actually real because I think what's leading up to the fact is that she was prescribed this medication, and then once she got out of school, they stop it, and then what is she supposed to do? You've created a world full of little drug addicts. Now what happens? Is that always the case with Ritalin or Adderall? No, but it's prescribed way too much. Don't get me started. Okay, I'll get back to it.
so eventually, fast forward through, middle school, which I'm pretty sure is uncomfortable for everybody. I was the late bloomer. I didn't get, puberty with my friends. Didn't have boobs. I didn't have none of that. The guys that I liked looked at me like little sister, and they looked at my friends that were developed already as the girls they wanted. So that kind of fed into eating disorder and body dysmorphia. So already at a young age, I had all kind of mental issues going on that I wasn't dealing with. No matter not that wasn't my mom's fault. She tried. I just wasn't listening. So I got to high school and I still looked like a kid. Um, yeah, so I got to high school and then that just was more uncomfortable for me. I was kind of antisocial. I didn't really do well. I did good in.
And not to lament the fact, but again, what she's talking about is how her growth was stunted, how she was underdeveloped. Many studies say that's the Ritalin. That's this narcotic that they put people on at a young age, and a lot of times it can have a counter effect as opposed to making you more focused and more alert, more attentive. It makes you less so, makes you draw in. Again, I'm no doctor. I don't play one on TV, and I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night. I'm just telling you what I've read, what I've heard in my meetings. So that being said, let's let her get back to tell her story.
In class at first, but then um, I just didn't want to be there anymore, so I just started ditching and hanging out with the wrong crowd. And eventually, sophomore year, I lost my virginity, which for most people isn't a huge deal, but for me it was because I was saving myself for marriage. And the only reason that I did is because Halloween I got a beer from a stranger and it had something in it. And if I wouldn't have taken that, I wouldn't have done that. So unfortunately, I did it with a friend's older brother. So she was very angry and she spread rumors about me around the school that weren't true and threatened me every day. And it got to the point where she was throwing stuff and cussing me out at my mom's car after school in front of my mother. So I started getting bullied really bad, which I'd dealt with bullying before, but nothing like this. So that made me go into a deep depression, and my anxiety was really bad. I wasn't going to any classes, and one day I decided to try some weed. That was the first thing I tried, or I tried some alcohol. I tried some vodka. That's what it was. I got drunk for the first time, and um, that's all it took. I I started off as binge drinking and drinking whenever I could, and then I tried weed, and then I was smoking that whenever I could, and eventually, come junior year, I was getting kicked out of school because I showed up to school blacked out drunk. It was our third period, so that was really bad, and nobody in my family except I think one other person graduated from high school, so that was a big goal of mine to do, and so because I didn't do that, I really went like buck wild after that, and I had already been sneaking out a lot and running away from home, but after that I just was more out on the streets um than at home, and that was really scary for my mom because she and I had always been so close and always told each other everything. So now I eventually turned 18, and at this time I had been in with my mother. I'd been there for not very long, about a month, and she said, since your 18th birthday is coming up, I'm going to plan a big party for you. It's going to be great, but I need you to follow my rules still, and, no drinking, no drugs at the party because you're going to have family there. And I was like, yeah, okay. And it wasn't going to be on my actual birthday, though, because it was on a weekday. So I was like disappointed we weren't going to do anything because I was grounded. So I called my best friend on my birthday and convinced my mom to let me go over there and stay the night at her house. Um, and so I was gonna go over there, but then she kind of sensed something was off. So then she was like, "Actually, I want you home by midnight." I was like, "It's my birthday." It didn't matter. Home by midnight, or your party's off. And so I hadn't had a birthday in like 3 years because I was being a troublemaker. So this was a big deal. So I went over there and, of course, got wasted and didn't even end up staying home. We went gallivanting all around Sacramento celebrating my birthday. And that's when. Um, that's when my drinking got really bad, and my mom couldn't take it anymore. She said, "No more. You can't come back here. You can't come back here. You're not gonna ever live under my roof again unless you're getting clean."
Are you sick of having issues with your webinars, wasting tons of time on troubleshooting with attendees?
And at this point, I'm smoking meth too, and I'd been through all kind of other really bad stuff as a teenager, being kidnapped and gorilla pimped a few times, all kind of sexual abuse. And through all this, it didn't matter to me because I had my alcohol and I had my crystal. None of that mattered. And I knew how to turn it all off. Just pretend like everything was fine. So I drank every day from the moment I woke up to the moment I blacked out, from my 18th birthday to well past my 19th. I drank at least a handle at a time. I was drunk. Smaller than this, I was drinking grown men under the table. Everybody would be passed out, and I'd go around cleaning up their drinks and finishing off the old beers because I wasn't drunk enough yet. And now I can say, that kind of just continued the same old bullshit. But now I can say it actually has been 5 years as of June 25th or 26th, something like that. No alcohol, at least. And it's been a few months no weed as well. But anyways, I think it was 21. I met a guy. He told me he was doing, this at this point. I'm still in Sacramento, and out of my mom still. I had already gotten my first felony, and I was on 5 years of felony probation, which I'm almost done with. And I I was on real thin ice over there. So I was out and I met this guy, and he told me that he smokes dope. And I had already been living with him for a couple of weeks, and I told him, go ahead. I noticed you get agitated and you need to smoke. It's like I used to smoke crystal, but at this time I hadn't smoked in 2 years, so I was like, go ahead, smoke your dope. I don't mind. Blow it in my face if you want to. I guarantee you I won't want it. And so he was like, okay. So we get back from having dinner, and he breaks out a piece of foil and a lighter and a straw. And I was like, what the heck? I was like, I've never seen anybody smoke dope this way. He's like, yeah, you can smoke this way. He's like, you can smoke anything on the foil, really. I was like, okay, cool. So then he gets out this really dark stuff, and in my head I'm thinking, okay, that must be some burnt crystal out of the bubble or something. So then he, melts it down, hits it, and I smell it, and I'm like, oh, that smells so good. What is that? And he's like, what do you mean? This is dope. And he's like, this is heroin. You've never had heroin. I was like, no. This smells really good, though. Let me have some. It smells like fresh baked raisin bread. And it took a lot of convincing on my part. But eventually, I manipulated him into letting me have some. Because I told him it's better than me having some there, being safe, than the latter. So basically, that started my opiate addiction.
So what are you using now?
A couple of years ago, I was homeless in Oakland, and I ended up getting a boyfriend that was also my dealer, and he was selling me my black. And he was cutting my black with fentanyl. Both of them knowing I was really against fentanyl, because I just watched it destroy people's lives and kill people. And so they decided to, whenever I would complain that their stuff wasn't getting me well anymore, they would just add more fentanyl. And eventually his uncle did teach my boyfriend how to do it himself. And he would just keep adding more. And one day he realized that I wasn't getting well again, and that he was going to have to add pretty much mostly fentanyl, just a little bit of black, and that he might as well just buy some straight fentanyl and give it to me and tell me the truth. And so he did that, and that pretty much changed my life for the worst. I've been addicted to it since. I believe from the first hit, it's really changed me as a person. I didn't contact my mother for 2 years. I didn't contact anyone in my family, and that's not me at all. I was so ashamed and in a really dark place. I just couldn't let them see me in my mess, and nonetheless hear my voice in my mess. So
Her story isn't very uncommon. Most addicts, they start off with something as in their idea, there's something as harmless as marijuana, then move on to alcohol. And then she said she went to meth, and then she went to heroin, and then she went to fentanyl. It's because the high gets lessened the more you do it. So you need something more and more and more, something more powerful, more powerful, more powerful. And this poor girl here, this battle started less than a year. In less than a year, she went from smoking pot to smoking fentanyl. And unfortunately, that story is not uncommon in this country right now. It is everywhere. It is being used by everyone, and it's in everything. So again, I lamented this the other night. If you think just because you're smoking some weed that you're safe, unless you're getting your marijuana, if you're prescribed marijuana, or if you have a card for it, get it from as a dispensary or someplace like that, where it's start to finish been watched, you're taking a big risk, and that's all I'm going to say about that.
I'm still smoking it. I smoked right before this interview. My tolerance is really, really high, but the scary part is that I am allergic to Narcan, which is what they give you when you overdose to bring you back to life. I'm allergic to it. And I did, not a lot of people know this, but I did overdose. I was in my tent in Oakland with a guy that I had been friends with for a little bit, and he said that I'd gotten like a really good deal on like some of the best fentanyl I've ever had, and I put it all on foil, and it was like an absurd amount, but I was like showing off, and so I just remember taking one big hit, and then he said I pretty much took one big hit and then like fainted. I just passed out. He said he tried to get me to wake up, and I wasn't waking up, and then he was yelling at me and I wasn't responding. He said that he kind of got me to like mumble, and then after that my breathing was really shallow. He said he couldn't actually tell if I was breathing, and if he couldn't tell if I had a heartbeat. But he had some stuff on his record where he was too scared to call the police. He was too scared to call 911, and no one else around there would anyway. So he just ran and left me there.
Don't know if you heard what she said. She said that she is allergic to Narcan. So the only thing that could possibly save her from overdosing, she's allergic to. Yet she still does it. That, my friends, is what's called addiction. It's doing something you know could possibly kill you, but you keep doing it. That's the control that addiction can take over your body. You're seeing it right before your eyes. And Kay is so brave for telling her story like she is. I commend her for being brave and sharing it. So pretty powerful stuff. I hope you guys are getting as much out of this as I am.
I believe he did know that I didn't smoke, or that I didn't use Narcan because I was allergic. So he didn't even bother trying to find anyone with some. He just left me there. He said he tried compressions, nothing was working, so he just left me. And I woke up 2 days later. I didn't know 2 days had passed.
So today you're living
Today,
on the streets?
Yeah, shortly after that, I moved out of Oakland because of all the bad memories, and especially that one. I moved out here to San Francisco also because it was closer to the fentanyl, the good fentanyl. I started getting bunk shit and having to walk around all around Oakland just to find it, or get on the BART and come here. I figured I might as well just move out here.
How do you support yourself now?
I do whatever I have to do. I still, I have my own higher power, my own beliefs, and I talk to my God, and through all of that, I can say that He sticks by my side and blesses me. I believe in karma, and I don't steal from people. I can't say I've never stolen from somebody. I've stolen from people before, but they had it coming. Either that or it was for my safety. I needed to get out of there and get safe. But I have pretty good karma for that reason. And so people, especially lately, keep stealing from me, and then I get blessed with stuff. Like these clothes. I had just lost everything I owned again just the other day. I had nothing, and my friend today gave me a huge bag full of really nice clothes. And I was so excited. I put them. This was one of the things that was in the bag. This outfit. And then I was blessed to make a friend that took me shopping for shoes. He took me to Salvation Army, and I'm not gonna lie, we were both broke, and so he actually watched my back while I stole these shoes. But they're so cute, and they matched my toenails. So
So is sex work one of the things you'll do to support yourself?
it used to be more so. Now I usually prefer more of like sugar daddy type of thing, where like they're more of like a friend, and he just helps me out with money with whatever I need. I don't really like to do that sex work anymore because I used to be forced into that, and so that's really triggering for me.
And what do you worry about now? What are you afraid of?
Dying or killing my mother. As far as her heart goes, I worry about it every day. Every day. And I have to use because the anxiety is so high now, and I have been using this really strong drug to numb my pain for so long now. I don't even know how to deal with it. I tried going to rehab, and after finally getting the fog lifted, and finally having my first normal day with nothing in my system, I left and I ran and came back to San Francisco from Sacramento because I could not handle my first emotion, clean and sober. It had been that long. I didn't know what to do. I panicked and I ran.
And use.
I regretted it as soon as I walked out the door, but it was too late. So now, I don't know. I just want to have a normal life. I want to go back to, being outdoors and hiking, and, going, to Indian Springs is pretty cool, but don't check it out. Um, Camping is to, want to be a nice guy who's normal and does normal shit to, get a job. Any job at this point would be awesome. I want to go to school and make my music because I sing and write. Just do normal life shit. I have normal life problems. Like, my car's out of gas, a block from work, I have to walk. That'd be a cool problem to have.
Do you have friends?
I have friends and
Street
acquaintances, but I can't really trust anybody out here. There's people who I come real close to trusting more than anybody else, but in the past I've even had those kinds of people mistrust me in like the worst ways possible, so I'll never let that last little guard down.
Are you lonely?
Yeah. It's pretty lonely out here.
Yeah.
It's pretty cold.
It's cold.
Yeah.
Even though it's June, it's still really cold at night.
Yeah, it is. It is. I remember one night in Oakland, it was this old man's birthday, and I was alone too. I was sitting there, I needed a cigarette. I had a horrible night, and he had had a pretty shit night too for it being his birthday. And so he, gave me a cigarette, and I agreed to spend his birthday with him. And we were smoking and hanging out, and it was time to go to sleep, and we were both homeless. And we were just kind of behind and on the side of a couple of buildings. And we both didn't really have any blankets. But I had a big suitcase with a bunch of clothes and jackets and one dry towel. And so I made us like a little pallet and a little pillow out of clothes, and it was so cold that night. I think it was like just at the freezing level. It was in the middle of winter. We would have probably gotten really sick if we didn't, use body temperature. But we both agreed it'd be a little inappropriate to do the all naked in the snow thing. So we had our clothes on, lots of layers, and we had to hold a perfect stranger to stay alive that night. I'll never forget that. That was really scary.
What would you say is the most important lesson you've learned from all this?
That just because I have to listen to my own instincts and trust myself and not listen to the other bullshit trying to lead me astray doesn't mean that I know everything. That's a really hard concept for me to grasp. I'm not God.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope you figure out all your emotions so you can maybe get free from all your addictions. You're still so young.
Yeah.
What a brave young lady. That was quite moving. If you weren't moved by that, you weren't paying attention. What more do we need to do? People, this country, I don't care what your political party is, Democrat, Republican, I don't care. This is an American problem. This is a countrywide problem. We got to stop pointing fingers. We're sending billions and billions of dollars overseas to countries that no one can find on a map. But our own country is being killed right before us by ourselves. And no one's taking up the sword. And we need to. Someone needs to. Will it be you? I'm doing my part. Let's get more people aware of this problem, people. We gotta get more eyes open to this crisis. That one's gonna stay with me for a while. Have a good evening. It works if you work it. Please keep coming back to these shows and these videos, and we'll get educated together on this issue. But until then, please be safe. Say a prayer for the prayerless. Say a prayer for people like Kay. And have a good evening. We'll see you tomorrow.